everyone, welcome to Carl's Place. My name's Carl, your host. I recently made a video on moving or retiring to the Philippines, which was a failure for me. So now I live in Florida. So I created a video about Florida in case you may be considering retiring or moving to Florida. Okay, I'd like to start with some statistics about Florida. Alright, I call the fun facts. Number one, Florida remains number one for inbound moves. 11% of all moves in the United States. South Carolina is now number two, and I've lived there too. And Arizona, number three. I've lived there too. Because after I retired Philippines, left Philippines, I went to Arizona. That didn't work out, so I went to South Carolina. Finally got tired of that and ended up in Florida. So, here we go. I'll explain why I'm staying in Florida at the end of this video. California still remains number one for outbound moves. 18% of all moves within the U.S. Okay. Basic reason is California is simply too expensive. Retirement now is the number one reason people are moving. This is twice the rate of job-related moves. Net migration to Florida in 2025 equaled 201,191, of which 22,517 were domestic moves, and believe it or not, 178,674 were from international moves. So the whole world is moving to Florida. As you can imagine, New York remains the number one state moving to Florida. Why? I don't know. Florida's population in 2026 is projected to be 23.46 million. And just think, in the 1960s, Florida population was only 3 million. So yes, it's out of control. The state of Florida covers 65,758 square miles. Land is 53,625 square miles, and water is 12,133 miles. Thus, 18% of Florida is water. I think the highest elevation is a little over 300 feet. Okay, next I'd like to talk about what I've seen since I've been here. Even though I live in the city, Florida is still abundant with wildlife. And in my neighborhood, just to give you an example, I've seen hawks, exotic birds, snakes, bobcats, turtles, deer, turkeys, raccoons, squirrels, possums, armadillos, and yes, even one alligator. That was scary. Since Florida has a tropical climate overall, you'll have plenty of insects and bugs to deal with every day. So if you do move here, I recommend you get your home treated by a professional pest control company. Okay? The cost of owning a home in Florida, that's really gone up. The median price for a home is now $412,000 to $435,000. As a comparison, in South Carolina, the median price is $300,000 to $390,000. But note, if you're going to live near the coast or in a large urban area, prices will be higher. The cost of owning a home in Florida is rapidly rising, but still people are moving here. The number one buyer now is a cash buyer, probably coming from the Northeast. I purchased my home back in COVID times, 2020, and back then it was a seller's market. For example, I submitted an offer exceeding $100,000 on an existing home, and my proposal was declined. Wasn't high enough. Okay, that house I was looking at, they wanted $300,000, but they sold it for $450,000. But they won't do that in 2026. All right, so I had to give up looking for a home back then, and so I purchased a lot and had a home built. But right now it's still a buyer's market in Florida, like I said, especially for cash buyers. Property taxes here in Florida are basically out of control. The average property tax in Florida is $2,500 to $4,000 a year. So it's about 1% of the home's value. Insurance in Florida, it's one of the highest costs of insurance in the United States. I think they're number 3. Florida is known for inflated costs for insurance, no matter what kind, car insurance or homeowners. The average cost of auto insurance in 2025 for one vehicle was $3,731 for full coverage. The average homeowner's insurance is approximately $367 per month and averages between $4,000 and $6,000 a year. Okay, utilities. Well, believe it or not, electric's not too bad. It's reasonable. It's about the same as what you'd pay in South Carolina. However, keep in mind, if you live in Florida, you're going to have your air conditioner running 10 months out of 12. So that raises your electric bill. Water, sewer, and garbage. It's one of the highest costs in the U.S. for water and garbage here. It's twice the price of South Carolina and other states. Where I live, the city charges for water, stormwater, sewer, and garbage all in one bill. The positive thing I could say about that is they pick up your trash twice a week, or in South Carolina, once a week. And here, it also includes any bulky items, large items that you want to throw out that won't fit in a trash can. Note here, unlike other states, you have to purchase your own trash cans. Negative about the water bill and garbage bill is that whether you use it or not, there's still a base fee. So you're going to end up paying anyway, whether you use it or not, which I don't think is fair. If you're someone who likes sidewalks and curbs and gutters, well, those are rare unless you live in a HOA, Homeowners Association community, and then have to pay HOA fees. I don't recommend that because those fees go up annually. Drive you nuts. I do not live in an HOA, so I have what they call a swale drainage system, spelled S-W-A-L-E, and this creates a little small creek running in front of your house every time it rains. Okay, and another thing I think is good about Florida is healthcare and medical services. That's one of the primary reasons I left South Carolina. I found healthcare here to be adequate, much better than South Carolina. However, in the winter months, it's going to be hard to get a medical appointment. Why is that? Because, as you know, probably know, Florida is overwhelmed with snowbirds, the seasonal residents from the Northeast. Man, they overwhelm this place. Since a large percentage of the population is over 60 years old, hospitals and doctor offices are normally full. And this is why a lot of people end up in emergency room or urgent care, which are very busy too. In the city where I live, which is in Northeast Florida, 60% of the population in this city are over 60 years old. Now, sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes that's a bad thing. So, location, that's always key in Florida. As you can imagine, the bigger the city, the higher the prices. And if you want a big city lifestyle, a lot of people end up in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. They're the most popular. But if I was going to live on the southern East Coast, I would live in Boca Raton. Man, I love it down there. So, I chose a mid-sized city in the Northeast, population 100,000. And since 60% of the people here in our town are retired, out of that 100,000, 90,000 are on the road every day. So, yeah, heavy traffic. That's the downside of living in a location which is primarily made up of retirees. So, if you don't want to be in a crowded place, don't move to a retiree state. Wherever you go, there's traffic, and if you're someone who needs a handicap space, good luck finding one. The infrastructure here in Florida. Florida is well maintained as far as roads, highways, streets, but we have like 3 main interstates here. One on the East Coast, I-95, which I call a racetrack because nothing but speeders. And I-75 on the West Coast, and I-4, which cuts across the center of the state. All 3 have heavy traffic, especially on holidays. You come down to Florida during Christmas, New Year's. Yeah, it's a parking lot. Florida recently passed a law: if you drive 100 miles an hour or more, you will be arrested on sight. This is because of the heavy traffic and because many people here are from out of state and they drive recklessly and speed like crazy. I call them the dive bombers. Okay. Climate, that's one of the main reasons people move to Florida. And actually there's 3 climate zones between the south, middle, and northern state. In the north and central part, it's a humid subtropical. In the south coastal, it's tropical monsoon. Yes, there's a lot of rain in Florida. And 3, tropical savanna, the interior and the southwest. Now, in case you were wondering why I moved to Florida, here are a few reasons. There are many, but here's a few. Better weather overall, because I looked at other tax-free states and man, they got nasty winters. So, weather's good except for the hurricanes. 2 years ago we had a hurricane and I lost power for 5 days. That was rough. Florida has good medical facilities. No complaints there. It's just getting an appointment. That's a problem. Florida, as you know, has no state income tax. That's a bonus. Florida is a very friendly state for veterans. I'm a veteran. And for example, if you're 100% or more disabled, there's no property tax for you. And there's multiple VA clinics here, and they're all excellent. And also, when you register your vehicle, you'll get a discount if you're 100% disabled. And I am, so I only pay like $4.50 to register my vehicle. And okay, there's more things to see, a lot more things to see and do here than South Carolina, where I lived before. South Carolina is a dud unless you live in one of the bigger cities like Myrtle Beach or Charleston. Okay, and also South Carolina doesn't have the best medical. Their doctors at their clinics and hospitals are under contract, and if they don't toe the line, boop, they're fired right away. So I was there 6 years, had 6 different doctors. It wasn't good. Okay. Finally, I mentioned earlier, I lived in Arizona, and I wanted to find a little part-time work because I spent so much money living in the Philippines, but I couldn't find a job there. So that's how I ended up in South Carolina. I got a job offer I couldn't refuse. Plus, if you're going to live in Arizona, bail out in the summer because it's 115 degrees in the shade all summer long. So if you want to see more videos on other places that I've been, just put it in the comments, because as you can see from my t-shirt, spent 10 years in Japan. I lived in 5 countries overseas, 9 states in the U.S. So maybe later I'll do videos on those locations. But anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Hopefully my video was helpful if you're deciding to move to Florida. If you have questions, leave a question in the comment section. Also, hit the like button and subscribe. Have a good one.